Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I want to quickly come on here. There's a scripture in the Bible in Proverbs where Solomon says, I think it is Solomon, majority of the book of Proverbs is written by Solomon, but towards the end, there's a mixture of writers. Solomon says something about there are people who are always acquiring knowledge but never understanding. And he calls those people fools. You know, there's the book of Proverbs about wisdom and it's also about fools, simpletons. And I was just thinking about, as I was reflecting today, about how many times the world that we live in confuses acquiring knowledge as a sign of wisdom, right? I've lived long enough to know that a lot of people that have obtained a lot of knowledge actually don't have a lot of wisdom. What I mean is that they haven't actually applied what they have acquired, or they haven't married the other aspects of their personalities in terms of emotional intelligence, discernment, reading the room, character, team management, all the other aspects that actually take up most of your day, right? That actually what enable you to do what you need to do. And society has been judging a lot of people with regards to having knowledge, but not necessarily character, emotional intelligence, things that really move the needle in any setting. So stop looking at people with a lot of knowledge at face value and prescribe them as being better than those who don't. Okay. We need to stop boxing people based on society standards, especially if you call yourself a Christian. You need to be able to discern. I want to share something with regards to Saul, King Saul, quickly. King Saul was anointed by Samuel, First Samuel, to be king of Israel because the people were like, we want a king, we want a king. And then God was like, okay, because you guys want a physical, fleshly human being to be your king, but I'm your king. But anyway, and then God leads Samuel to go anoint King Saul. Well, Saul, then he became King Saul. And towards the end, because we all know what happens with Saul, he displeases the priest. He does his own thing, which ultimately causes him to be jealous of David while he's a king. And then he eventually, you know, I don't want to use the word, but he eventually bows down. And the conclusion here, I think God or Samuel said this, but the lesson here is that stop seeking people who look like the part, because in the first portion of the scripture in First Samuel, it talks about how Saul looked. He was handsome, he was this, he was that, and so forth and so forth. But there's also part of the scripture in the same chapter where it also talks about how he hid as Samuel was trying to anoint him. He hid himself, and he also liked to please people at the expense of the laws and the decrees that were placed. He already showed signs of character flaws that a normal king in his right mind shouldn't have, right? But because he looked the part and the people were begging for a king, God gave the people what they want. Ultimately, the lesson behind that story is that no one is as wise as God, right? Even the people that we look up to that look the part, they have flaws, including myself. And it's very important. What God tries to teach the people here is that stop looking to man for wisdom, for understanding, for life's direction. Because before they appointed Saul, they had never had kings, right? They only had judges. But then there was a strong need or a strong begging of kings by the people, and God eventually gave them what they want. But in all his, even after Saul, there was King David, King Solomon, all the different kings in the tribes of Israel. And when I was studying the book of First Kings, Second Kings, First Samuel, Second Samuel, Chronicles, I came to the conclusion that I think God was trying to tell us this, that no man can give you what God can give you ultimately. We are all flawed, right? And the only way we know this is that we look at each other and see how many times we have failed each other versus how many times God has just always been there. I'm not saying do not obtain knowledge. All I'm saying is don't allow your knowledge to lead. Seek God and He will give you understanding and ultimately enable what you have to be a superpower. But if you go at it alone, then you will stumble along the way. I know I went around in circles there, but have an awesome day, guys. Bye.